So he goes on in this light, and it's quite interesting. There's one thing I thought that was very funny. He says, not funny, but striking. He says, "This is a battle for the hearts and minds of the world, a battle in which the defamation of Israel, what I would call arguing for equal rights and justice and accountability, is like the artillery before the main assault, a key element in the softening up of the target." I thought that was just so striking. 3 months after Gaza, he's talking about us using artillery. We, who are talking about the non-violent BDS movement, are the ones using artillery, according to him. And Israel, which rained white phosphorus and howitzer shells on residential neighborhoods and schools and mosques and ministry buildings and police stations across Gaza, is the victim. It's a very interesting reversal of language. But finally, what's the solution? What's the solution from the perspective of AIPAC? He says, so this evening, let me say to everyone in this room, we have a job to do. We have a story to tell, a story that's often overlooked, and that is a remarkable story of the true Israel. I think we actually have exactly the same job. We must tell the story of Israel, who she is, what she does, and what she stands for in the world. Again, I think we have the same mission. And that truth will defeat the deformed vision of hate that seeks to separate Israel from her friends. Yeah, I can agree with that. But what is that message? And this is the crucial point, is that at the end of the period of managed occupation, when the apartheid and colonial reality of the Israeli system is laid bare, what is the message? What is this story they have to tell? Here's what it amounts to. Israel, the only country in the Middle East to host a gay pride parade. The Israel that draws energy from the sun, water from air. The Israel that takes seriously the admonition to be a light unto the nations. The country that opened its doors to the Vietnamese boat people in the 1970s, Ethiopian Jews in the 1980s and 90s, to refugees from more than 100 countries, except Palestine. People with different cultures and customs who have built new lives in Israel. Now, what's interesting about this? You've got a couple of themes here. The gay pride parade. They call that gay washing. When you use the idea that Israel has a gay pride parade, so that makes it okay to attack schools with white phosphorus. That's called gay washing. That Israel draws energy from the sun, water from the air. That's called greenwashing. That Israel takes seriously the admonition to be a light unto the nations. That it opened its doors to refugees, etc. Well, you may have seen the headline in Haaretz 2 weeks ago that Israel is considering setting up what it calls work camps in the Negev desert for refugees, mostly from Africa, awaiting adjudication of their asylum claims. And the deal, according to Haaretz, was that the refugees would be housed in these camps. They would be bused to places during the day where they would work, and they would then be returned to the camps in the evening. And for this, they would receive food. I mean, they would, in exchange, they would receive food. I think there's a term for that. It's called slavery. Because even slaves, for the most part, received room and board, just as a matter of keeping them alive. So the Israel that is open to refugees is an Israel that is in 2009 considering setting up slave labor camps. The point that I want to make from this is that I don't think there is a message. You cannot gay wash and greenwash and whitewash your way out of this. You cannot say, well, Israel makes wonderful pharmaceuticals, so don't worry about what's happening in Gaza. It's not going to work. It's too late for that. And I think that the failure of I think this message cannot be retooled. And I think we're at a point where Israel is still incredibly powerful. But I think in a sense, it is running on inertia, accumulated power, accumulated prestige. It's like someone whose bank account is very full, but they're spending it, and they have to spend it very quickly. And we, in our movement, have a very small bank account. I'm not talking literally about money, but I'm talking about political power and moral legitimacy and support and a just vision that includes everyone. We have a small bank account, but we have an income. We're growing it. Israel has a big bank account, but there's no income. I don't see Israel being able to recruit a new generation to carry this message. I think that the success of American Jews, is that they're fully integrated into this society. That young American Jews have imbibed the universal message of the civil rights movement, and they want nothing to do with this thing. I was talking earlier to Phil and saying Israel is like a lemon, and these Israel lobby groups have to try to sell it as if it's a Lexus. And nobody's buying this, this lemon anymore. Now, that may sound a little bit rosy, and I don't want to make you think this is all very easy and inevitable, because it isn't. The other side of this, which is very, very important, is that there is a tremendous, tremendous struggle to be waged, which is why the work that you're doing in this movement is so important. And a just outcome is not inevitable. Israel has tremendous power. It has the capacity to do tremendous violence. There are many people who think Gaza 2009 was just a foretaste of what's to come. And the Israelis will go for broke, and they will try once again to do what they have failed to do for so long, which is to cow and terrorize the Palestinians and other Arab peoples into submission. So there are enormous dangers. It's not inevitable. But what makes another attack on Gaza or another part of Palestine less likely every day is what we do. The more ruckus we raise, the more difficult we make it for Israeli war criminals to speak on our campuses, the more we raise awareness about the impact of Israeli occupation on Palestinians throughout the country, on the racism and second-class status of Palestinian citizens in Israel, the more people are aware through BDS activism, the harder it is for Israel to act freely. We have to provide the accountability with this movement that our governments have failed to provide, that the United Nations has failed to provide. And you will face many enemies. One of them is called J Street. They took notice of you. They took notice of you. I'm sure many of you have seen the press release that came out on Thursday, which says the upcoming conference at Hampshire College promotes the misguided boycott, divestment, and sanctions movement against Israel. Here's the good news. This movement is spreading like wildfire.